Hello and welcome everyone. Today I would like to talk with you about creating a plugin for a grid. Since I had two customers and they were asking for plugins for a grid and one from the forum. That's why I would like to talk about grid plugins today. So welcome and have fun. So I created a plugin for you, and let's first of all talk about what I prepared. The first thing is I added a button in here. I created one plugin to update the view in here, the grid. And so one is the button up here, the other one is the grid below. So the button on the top does nothing but show and hide the grid. So let me minimize the button and let's focus on my grid. So in the grid, you can see down here that I have two plugins there, the update button as a plugin and grid minimum, group minimum, which gets the config with A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And the question was, can I create a grouped grid and have, if there is for certain groups no entry in my data, I still will have the group. And as you can see in here, B doesn't contain anything, but still there's the group B. So if you think you can learn something today, please leave me a thumbs up. So what did I do in here? Let me update for a second in here. So you can see B again has nothing. Let me see, C has no data, but still gets A, B, C, X, Y, Z. If I scroll down here, you can see the empty things in there too. Let's go on. Probably won't have some in A. So A, B, C, it's always, if I update, I create new data and now there's nothing in A. But what did I do in here with the plugin? Let me go to the grid group minimum. So it extends from the plugin abstract. I added a name grid group minimum as an alias, which I can use in here. And I allow to pass through some arguments, which is now the min groups. And on the initialization, I receive the grid and I try to get the store. And let me just go in here. I will need the store load function and the store change function. And I added them up here in case I need them to add a binding, as in here, like unload and so add listener and destroy the listener. And that's why I once at all just save them up here. And the next thing I'm doing is that I say, I want to listen to the grid whenever the store changes. Because right now, as the way I edit it in here is that I'm binding the store, the user store, and on creation of the grid, there is no grid, no store bound. So I have to listen to the store change, and with the store change, I will run my store change functionality. But if I do have a store, it could happen for a plugin that I already have the store, so on the grid. And in that case, I would like to go right away for the store change. I do need the same arguments for this method as on the listener. and the listener adds the grid itself, the new store and the old store. In here, if I do have a new store, if I do already have a store, I do not need the old store. That's why I didn't pass them in here. On store change, I want to listen to, ignore these two lines for now, I will explain them later. I want to listen to the load event. But if the store already is loaded, I want to run the same functionality right away. And here the main magic happens. What I'm doing in here is I'm getting my min groups. I'm getting the group field. So A, B, C is a group from, let me just open this in here, main model, and the group field is product index. So I'm getting the group field, and then I'm saying store suspend events. I'm doing a lot with the store in here, and I do not want the store always to fire update events. Like I'm adding new items, and actually it would regroup, sort, filter, all the stuff over and over again. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm doing therefore is I'm suspending these events. I want to remember all the events, which I'm skipping right now. And at the end, I want to fire all the events at once. So that's why I'm adding true in here, but I'm suspending these events. Then for each item in my array, min groups, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, I want to iterate once. So the first index would be A. I'm saying, no, I do not have that index yet. And then I'm searching the store for a record which might fit the index A, B, C, A. So then I'm going through the records with the group field. You remember we had the product stuff in there. In the, let me reopen that. I should have left it open. I'm going for the product index. And if that field starts with my index, you can add whatever you would like to do in there. I'm looking for, does it start with the index? It would be great just to use probably lowercase, uppercase, something like that, just to make sure that it matches always, no matter if it's upper or lowercase. And if we do have a match, then I would like to say, oh, I do have the index, just to make sure I'm not running through this part. And then I'm saying return false. This stops the full iteration of all records, which speeds up the process. If I do not have an index, then I have to add an empty record. As in A, doesn't show anything in here. Still, I added it to my list, to my grid, as an empty entry. And then resume events, just to make sure that everything gets fired. And that's it for my onStore load. Now, you always should think about adding something like destroy in here. And this happens when the grid gets destroyed, the plugin gets destroyed. Typically, whenever you have something like an on listener in there, you want to make sure that you destroy your stuff so that you do not run into errors later on. I thought about everything, and grid on storage change gets automatically destroyed with the grid. And the store, if we add in here store on load event. Let's say we wouldn't care about that in the destroy part. Important part in here is this call parent. You always want to run that. So if I do not take care about an event listener, which I added to something else with a local method, two things happen. First thing is, this will never get cleaned up from JavaScript. Second thing is, if you ever happen to reuse that store somewhere and you reload the store, it tries to run this functionality, but the plugin got destroyed, so it won't find it and throws an error. You do not want that to happen. That's why I went in here and said, if I do have an old store, I want to stop listening to the load event. When destroying the grid, the store gets set to null at that point. Right before destroying the grid, ExtJS sets the store to null. And that's why I went in here and I have that old store. If I have an old store, then I want to stop listening to that. If I ever change the store for a grid, I want to stop listening to the old store too. That's why this is the way I went here. If I do not have a new store, on destroying, it passes null or undefined. And that's why I want to stop in here, just to make sure it will happen on destroy that it reruns this part one last time. So, and that's basically all I have today for you to learn something new. If you're interested in something like getting these button types, which are basically in here, I'm just adding a button with a custom UI, which I wrote myself. Just leave a comment in the comments part and I will go over that the next time. So have a great day and until the next time, bye.